Welcome back to the Smugglers Den. I'm your host, Tiny Grimes, and here we are with episode 28. As always, I want to thank swdestiny.com for their generous hosting and all kinds of awesome stuff they do over there. You can go to brokenegggames.com, check out, put TG Games at the discount code coupon at the end, maybe help out the show a little bit. And as always, you can go to Patreon, Tiny Grimes, if you want to check out what we're doing over there, all kinds of discussions. And just so you know, I'm streaming semi-regularly now on twitch.tv Tiny Grimes. So come on by. The last two streams I've just streamed random decks that people think are good, and I usually concluded that they're bad, as I tend to do. Alright, so we're going to bring in our guest this week, Elrathion. How are you doing, man? Let me start here. Am I wrong in my assertion that every deck is bad?
If every deck is bad, every deck is good.
Yeah, that does seem to be the case. So Elrathion, let's talk a little bit about what you do, where you are in the game. I imagine some people haven't heard of you. If you had to summarize your accomplishments in Destiny in a couple sentences, what would they be?
So I live in Omaha. As far as accomplishments in Destiny go, I think I probably won about 12 tournaments. The biggest tournament I've attended was 40 people. I was runner-up there, and
So
just won a Star Championship.
You lost that tournament, is what you're saying.
Correct.
You tied for last. Okay, cool.
That's absolutely right. No.
And you won a store champ? Have you won multiple store champs yet, or just the one?
I've attended two. The first one was kind of on a whim. It was like a Friday afternoon, and we're like, we need to prep, and we figured out there was a Star Championship about 3.5 hours away. So I mobilized a couple of people, and we went down at 7 o'clock at night. It was fun. And I was 4-1. I got 5th place, which I was really pissed about.
Oh, so you didn't make the cut. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, it was painful.
4-1 in 5th place is brutal, because that means it's a strength of schedule situation.
Yes, and it was extended strength of schedule actually by .035.
So you traveled 7 hours to get screwed on strength of schedule. You must have felt good.
Yeah, especially because it was against the Palmas, who had magical Christmas lands.
Mm-hmm. They'll do that sometimes. What deck were you running at that store champ where you tied for last?
The one that I tied for last?
Yeah.
That was Awakenings tournament and was Pore.
It was the store championship during Awakenings?
No. You said I tied for last.
Well, 5th place, if you didn't make the cut, you tied for last.
Okay, cool.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to mislead you.
So that one was Palpatine as well.
Okay. And then you won your next one with Palpatine, right?
Correct, yeah.
Okay.
I called the previous one my warm-up.
So you are the Palpatine god. Is that what you're saying?
No.
Okay. All right. We'll just say you're the Palpatine god. Okay, that's good to know.
Cool.
So what brought you to Destiny? What you play before Destiny? What brought you into the game?
I've been playing card games since I was 14. I was national championship in Belgium, a national champion in Belgium of Star Wars CCG.
Ooh.
By the time I was 16, was always really high elo in Star Wars CCG. Then skipped to Lord of the Rings CCG. Played that for a very long time. All the cyber games basically, and then I took a break. And then it was computer games from then.
Okay.
Onward.
I wasn't sure if it was discovering girls.
I was like, yeah, I had my wife straight away, so it was
when
good.
You were 14. That is good. That's good. I got married at 14, and it was just smooth sailing from there.
Yep. Yeah, actually, yeah. Then it's just like World of Warcraft had the second highest ranked, actually the highest ranked team in Europe for Arena, and so I've always been a competitive player. Took a break, and then I found Star Wars LCG from FFG. Started playing that. Really enjoyed it a lot. Did really well in my local meta. Won virtually all store championships and regionals in my area. But unfortunately, because of work situation and my visa, I never really had the time to travel anywhere to any competition, like Gen Con or anything. So I took a break again. And then I found Destiny, so that's where I am now.
All right. So, longtime card player basically loves. Sounds like you love Star Wars, or do you just luck into all the Star Wars games?
Yeah, I really love Star Wars. So.
All right, all right. So we're on the same page there. Okay.
Yep.
So, Star Wars player loves cars, likes having fun with Destiny. Are you loving Destiny, or are you just liking Destiny?
Yeah, no, I'm not sure if I would play it if it was not Star Wars. I'll be honest with that. I mean, I like it, but the competitive player in me has a real difficulty with dice.
Yeah, I certainly have days where if it was not Star Wars, I would immediately sell my collection. That is definitely a fact. One of the things I am most impressed about this game is not just that it's Star Wars, but it actually kind of feels like Star Wars. With the Star Wars LCG, I never quite felt like that. I felt like it was like a World War II game where the Star Wars characters were. It was like, no, that's not a warship. It's a Star Destroyer, and Yoda used the Force to destroy it. And you're like, what is going on here? This doesn't quite add up. Like, it's fine. I'll take the leap because there's Star Wars pictures on it. But it didn't add up quite as much as Destiny does. All right. So, let's see. So you said you played in 2 tournaments lately. I have not had a store champ yet. I might have one this weekend, depending on brownies, not the food, but the little girls' troop. Well, there's some situations there. We'll see if I can make it out. But I did play a tournament last night. And I have this sort of anti-meta deck that I was all set to play. But I do this every week. I break out a different deck first because we get there about 3 hours early. Just have fun. So I played Kylo Vader, and I won a game. And I won another game, and I won another game. And I won like 7 in a row in crushing fashion. I was like, oh my god. This deck is kind of insane. So I played it, and it did not go well, Elrathion. It didn't go well at all.
Yeah. That never happens, right?
First game, Poe Ray. I got Mind Probed twice in the first turn for 5 and then 4. And Vibro Knife was down, and he rolled the 2 on Ray and the 1 on the Vibro Knife to do 3 more. So it was a 12-point first turn, and I didn't win that game.
You're saying you were greedy and never left any resources for the removal?
No, I did not have removal rolls. No, that's not true, actually. This is what happened. He cheated out the first one, the first Poe die, and got the special and mind probed me. And the other one was rolled into the 3 with a resource. And the only removal I had was doubt. So I was like, well, I have to doubt this, and I did, and it was a special.
Oh no!
Mind probe. So
at least it was 4.
I was very unhappy, actually, at that moment. And he's like, I'm so sorry, Tiny. I feel really bad about this. And I was like, man, I do want to murder you right now, but it's not your fault. This is what happens in Destiny. So that game went really bad. And then in the second game, similar stupid stuff happened. Like, I had a Kylo at 8 health. He had 1 Poe die on the board. He had Planetary Uprising out. And he just had the 1 die and 1 card in hand, and so I had to claim and hope that he wasn't going to hit something big enough. And so he re-rolls, and he hits the 3 and kills Kylo. And I'm like, okay, cool. So it was a bad night. I won the next 2 games handily, but still, those first 2 really put a damper in the evening.
I bet. Yeah.
My strength of schedule was like the lowest I've ever heard of. I was looking at it, I was like, what the hell? I didn't even know they went that low. So apparently my second 2 opponents didn't do as well. Oh boy, so we're going to return to Kylo Vader in a bit. Do sort of a deep dive into this. Elrathion, you've played quite a bit of Kylo Vader yourself, am I right?
Mm-hmm. That's
so I've
correct.
got about 10 games in myself, so I think we can have a good chat about that. But before we do that, I do want to talk real quick and thank some people, the Patreon supporters. Thank you so much. Without your help, I don't know how I would buy any Destiny product, to be honest. So we have some new subs. Joe, Astrolad, thanks so much. And Rich joined the coaching tier this week. Thank you so much for that. And Steve and Eric, who are already part of the coaching tier. You guys are awesome. If you donate $1, you're amazing. Thank you so much to everybody. All right. I want to talk about some news, Elrathion. Did you hear today the Asmodee Alliance news that broke?
I did.
So, real quick summary. As far as I can tell, Alliance is going to be the exclusive distributor for Asmodee. And should we worry?
I don't know. I actually don't know enough about the distribution landscape in the U.S. to really have a strong opinion. Although, you know, at any rate, anytime there's kind of less competition, I don't feel it's a good thing.
Yeah, that's my gut feeling too. It's like, anytime you're like, good news, there's a monopoly. The consumer is never like, yes, I win.
That's fun.
I've never heard of that, right? It's always like, oh, so I'm screwed now. Like, all the cell phone towers are down, but you don't give a crap because you have a monopoly. Awesome.
True.
Okay, so here's my big worry. Boy, Alliance has a lot of power now. Like, before it was kind of like, okay, we ordered from 5 different distributors, and this is how they divvied it up, and we got X amount of boxes. Now it's just like, hey, Alliance, can we please get some boxes? And they're like, I really like you. No, we're gonna give them to the store. Like, I don't know anything about Alliance, so I don't know if they prioritize bigger stores or better stores, or if they have some system or how they do it. It is a little bit scary to me, though.
Yeah, you make a good point.
All right, so we'll have to see moving forward if this is a problem, if it's not a problem. People are kind of freaking out on the internet. I got to say that, though. I haven't read a single person who was like, you know what? I really think this is going to be a good thing for all of us. So,
yep.
We'll see. All right, let's move on to Gen Con. Are you going to Gen Con by any chance?
I don't think I'll be able to make it.
Okay, so tickets went on sale on Saturday, and I sat in front of my computer, and it's 9 o'clock my time is when they go on sale. I have my wish list all set up, man. I'm all set. And exactly the moment that this thing turns 9 and is not grayed out anymore, I click the button, and I'm all excited, right? Right? I am 6,500 in the queue, hitting the button at the very instant you're available to. I was a little worried.
I hear you. I had the same experience for Worlds.
Did you get tickets to Worlds? I don't remember.
I did not.
Oh. So, this is a little bit different than Worlds, where at Worlds you're just like clicking and hoping. Here, you're in the queue, and you get to watch as things sell out in your cart. So, you're just staring at it, and you're like, okay, okay, there goes L5R. That's fine, whatever. I just thought it might be fun. That's cool. That's fine. I'll be okay. Oh, God, this is taking a long time. And when I got to about 650, boop, grayed out. The Destiny event was gone. I wasn't very happy, Elrathion. I wasn't very happy at all.
I seem to have noticed something on your Facebook post. a slight discontent.
I think, at least in my Facebook post, I tried to put a, like, not as negative of spin on it, right? I was, like, losing my mind mad because I planned this trip for 8 months, like, around my family, and jumped through all these hoops to get everything set up. The only thing left was to get the ticket, and I didn't get it. But I do have to say this. I put on my Facebook that I didn't get a ticket, and I was, you know, unhappy about that. A lot of people contacted me and offered me tickets. So to all of you out there who did, thank you so much. That was exceedingly generous of you. I was able to get a ticket later in the day. Just, I refreshed for like 2 hours. My family's like, dude, what are you doing? And I was like, hush, everyone. I am hitting the refresh button. And they're like, how about you just come hang out with us? And I was like, all right, here's your choice. You get grumpy me, or you just let me hit the refresh button for a couple hours and see what happens. So I hit the refresh button, and it worked out. So I'm excited.
Nice. I bet.
All right, so I've got a question for you. What do you think about this? The L5R event on Thursday had 300 seats available. Destiny, their cash cow, had only 288 available. And this is coming off of a pretty small Worlds availability as well. What do you think of this? Is this a problem that L5R had more seats at this event than Destiny, and then it also has several other tournaments, so it has like 200 more seats throughout the weekend. Is this an issue? Should we care? What do you think?
Oh yeah, I think we should definitely care. I always felt about FFG that they're amazing at making games, and I love their games, but I've always had issues with the competitive aspect and how they organize and distribute product.
Yeah. That's always been my thing as well. My saying with FFG is something like this. They want you to buy their games, but then when you want to take them seriously, they're like, come on, guys. Why do you have to be so serious about this? Just buy our stuff and play with your friends. You don't need tournaments. Jeez. So, yeah, I'm not really thrilled about that. That you would think that they're, like, they finally jumped into the CCG pool, right? Like, I feel like there's things that go with that. Like, you have like a bigger event than some LCG that you're making.
Come on, Tiny. We get a BB-8.
Oh, we get a BB-8. BB-8's not the Gen Con one, right?
Isn't it?
I don't know. It probably is. I don't. You know what? It's too depressing. I haven't looked at the prizes, to be honest, because the prizes are pretty much irrelevant to me. Like, if it's just, here, you get a playmat and an alt art card, I'm paying a lot of money to go to Gen Con. Like, that's not enough for me. I either am going to win the tournament or be like, well, I didn't get anything for going. So, but I am playing in the cash events. I'm playing, actually, Thursday, 2 tournaments Friday, a tournament Saturday, and if I make a cut in anything, I'll be playing Sunday as well. So, dude, that's going to be a lot of Destiny.
Sounds fun. I'm jealous.
Yeah, I absolutely can't wait. I will be having some sort of get-together when I can find time, since I'm going to be playing Destiny every second. So make sure you follow, I don't know, whatever, the Facebook page, Tiny Grimes Games, or Twitter, or something. But contact me. I'll put the word out, where and when, and we'll get together. We'll hang out. Okay, I got a big question for you here. Sure. I'm having a lot of friends quit the game, and this is why. They're really frustrated that it looks like FFG is making a CCG, right? Like, the prices are, some people have said cheaper than other CCGs. Okay, we'll see. But they're basically making a CCG and attempting to run it like an LCG. And so what I mean by this is, like, these tournaments with not enough seats at them, with piddly prizes. You know, you spent $1,000 on your collection, and like, here you go, you're the world champion. Here's a Mon Mothma poster, and you're like, what? Is this a joke? I spent $1,000 on travel, $1,000 on my collection, and I got a bad art Mon Mothma poster. Is this really a joke? The other side of it is that for a lot of people, especially with the product shortage, like, I have one friend who quit the game. He was the best player in his area. He'd won something like 14 tournaments or something. But he still had to buy everything. Like, yeah, he got a little store credit at one of the stores he was going to, but they wouldn't pre-order a box with him with the store credit. They limited him to like 6 packs or something. So he's like, okay. So it doesn't matter what I do. Like, I can win everything, and I still have to shell out $500 every couple months for a set. That doesn't feel like a CCG to me. And I explained to him, well, this is how FFG works. They're kind of running this like an LCG. And he's like, well, then I can't do that. Like, that's not tenable for me. I think that's ridiculous. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it's okay for FFG to run a CCG like it's an LCG? Is there a difference that they need to embrace?
I couldn't agree more, actually. Everything you said could have came straight out of my mouth. It's what I've been telling all my friends. I'm like, I hope it's just maybe like birth pains or something, where, you know, they're new to the area. Maybe they're just taking some time to find their ground. I really hope that's the case, because I think it would be very unjustified for them to make so much money in the game and not give back to the community. Yeah,
I'm hoping the same, but it's really hard to think that there's something there, right? Because it's like every event they've had has sold out. People are willing to fly across the country. all of their product is sold out. Like, I can just see them all being in a boardroom, clapping each other on the back and going, "Great job, Bob! Great job, Will! You guys are doing awesome!" Whereas the community is all going, "You guys are screwing everything up." It just seems like there's this wide gulf of a disconnect, and I'm just really curious to know if FFG plans on breaching that at all, if they're just going to say, "What are you talking about? Things are awesome."
Yep. Very true.
So I guess we'll have to see what's going to happen with this. I don't know. I'm sad because friends are quitting. A solution, I think, is the stores. Right now that there's some more product available, maybe there's not. In my store, there is. Every week we have a tournament. Everyone who enters gets a pack. You pay $5. If you get wins, you get packs. They had a win a box tournament. I feel like these kind of tournaments at least make the competitive player feel like I'm getting something, right? Like I'm able to use my skill to win more product, which I can either turn around and sell or trade or use, but I'm not just having to go empty my pockets. Here's all my cash. Give me all the cards. What do you think? Is that where the solution lies in places other than FFG?
I mean, I think it has to be a combination, right? Even just for regular, just store tournaments, like nothing should stop them for even giving some products for those, or giving swag, T-shirts with the print card on, things like that. It's very easy for them to do so. In combination, I think we're already starting to see some of the community pick up. I've seen a couple of reasonably big cash events in Florida. So who knows? That might be the community might take over where FFG stops. Who knows?
Yeah. I feel like that's our big hope. I feel like we really need the community to just step up and be like, okay, FFG, the games have been out since what, November? So it's like, oh, it's just growing pains. It's 8 months. Like, that's a long ass time to be like, oh, it's just growing pains.
Yeah, that's more like towards the distribution. I get that takes a while for them to nail. I think they probably didn't expect how big this was going to be. Tournament-wise, hopefully the second year they'll give more than a BB-8 or a Mon Mothma. And by the way, like for the biggest tournaments, if we talk about nationals, if we talk about worlds, Mon Mothma, BB-8s, and then you go to Team Covenant event and you get Luke and Vader.
That's a really good point, actually. We talked about that last week, how interesting it is that they've jumped in so strongly with Team Covenant. But you're right, like, if they had given Team Covenant BB-8 and Mon Mothma, people have been like, whatever. No one wants that anyway.
I mean, I'm happy that, like, I definitely am very happy that they, engage with the stores and do things like that. Yeah. But it just seems like for Worlds and Nationals, that the cards there should carry weight. That should be like Darth Vader. Yeah. Or that should be something like that where you're like, oh, yeah, Yeah.
I feel like FFG's in full-on troll mode or something, and, like, at the next major, like, at Worlds next year, they're going to be like, here it is, you've been waiting for it. It's Darth Vader, and then it's going to be like the little kid Anakin in the ship, and people are going to be like, no, what? Why would you do that? Like, what? You said you wanted Darth Vader. All you do is complain.
So I have some inside contacts with FFG, and they told me it's going to be Smuggling Freighter.
Smuggling Freighter, yes.
No, I'm joking.
Goodness, I hope it is. That card is so awesome.
Smuggling Freighter. That could run too. It's better than BB-8.
Yeah, that's true. That's a good point. You can run them both. Oh, man. All right. Well, all I can say is someone step up, whether this is FFG, whether this is individual stores. And I got to give kudos to Fire and Dice, which is our local store. We're there every Wednesday with tournaments, and they're really doing an amazing job. Every week, giving packs out, having win-a-box tournaments. They're really making you feel like, oh, I'm actually getting something out of this. And I know not every store can do that because stores are still hurting for product. But as we see more product, I urge stores, do this. Have this kind of behavior. Reward people for coming in with more than just, here's $5 store credit. You can buy some sleeves.
True.
All right. Real quick before we move on to Kylo Vader, I do want to talk about X Wars. You already alluded to it. This is the awesome tournament in Florida, July 8th and 9th. You can go to destinyccg.com to learn more. We're sponsoring the tournament mainly because I'm really excited about it. I want there to be big tournaments. We just talked about this. Someone needs to step in. There's a $3,000 tournament. I mean, that's going to be amazing. Are you going to go to this? You're going to go win the $3,000?
Of course.
Are you going?
I'm trying to, yeah.
Awesome. I definitely cannot unless something really, really profound happens. So, it does not look good for me. I'm sad, but it's going to be an awesome event. All right, Elrathion. Nothing's news and chicken littling. Let's talk about Kylo Vader. So,
Cool.
Let me start here. Do you think Kylo Vader is a Tier 1 deck?
Yeah, I definitely do.
Okay. And what about it feels Tier 1 to you? Would you describe it as an aggro deck?
Yeah, definitely. I think it's probably next to Poe, Maz, the most aggro deck in the game so far.
Okay. You think less aggressive than Palpatine?
Yeah, I mean, I think Palpatine can be as aggressive, but I think if you play Palp aggressive, you lose.
Interesting. Okay. So I guess we need to revisit this then. What do you mean by that? So if you roll guns, are you re-rolling for shields when you're playing Palpatine?
No, but
Okay.
What I mean by that is like when I play Palp, and I play against the Poe or whatever, the dice I like to see the most is the shield dice.
Yeah, I agree with that.
And I play extremely slow. Like it almost goes in the order of shields first, resources second, gun/discard third.
Okay. I totally agree with that, but you're not re-rolling guns to get the shields, right? You're just hoping
No,
for them?
that would be a little bit over the top.
That would be amazing if you were like, yeah, I don't ever do damage. I get shields and do damage from them. That's how I kill Poe. Oh, man, you would be my hero. But so is one of the things you mean that you don't play really upgrades, you just save all your money for removal,
Correct,
and
yeah.
you're happy to get shields.
Yeah, I just sit back and how I like to play Palp is just like, a little attrition here, a little attrition there, and just as soon as they think, oh, I'm safe, if there's any target they've overexposed a little bit and I get one gun, whether it's to force throw, probe, then the No Mercy comes out and just kills that character and they're done.
Yeah. Would you say you think Palpatine is tops right now? Do you think it beats Poe Maz?
I'm not like I know Justin thinks it's undefeatable, according to his article, but I think it has a good probably 50/60% chance, which I'll take any day.
Yeah, that's what's so crazy. I feel like almost every deck, you're like, this deck beats Poe Maz pretty well. And you're like, really? I tested it. It's like 50%. And you're like, yeah, I know. Isn't that great? Like,
yeah, I mean, I'll take it.
How's that great? That's terrible. I don't want a deck that only beats the most common deck 50% of the time. That's madness.
Well, I'll put this one caveat in, though, is like I feel, at least what I've seen in the couple of tournaments that I played SOR with, is that a lot of people's Poe Maz is either not optimized or they play it because it's flavor of the month.
Yes.
And so as a result, if you play the deck that you know, that 50 or 60% becomes 70 or 80%.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. When I'm playing, so I played Palpatine in a tournament, went 4-0 with it, beat 2 Poe Mazes with no trouble at all, beat a whole bunch of them online. I was like 90%. Then I played a friend of mine. His deck is Poe Maz. His deck is highly optimized. He whooped me 3 straight games. And I was like, oh my god, this isn't good. All 3 of them felt weird, like, oh, well, if you hadn't done that. But that's how it always feels against Poe Maz, right? Like, every game you lead and you're like, they got so lucky. If they hadn't just done that, I would have won. And like, well, then I would have done this. Well, if you hadn't done either of those things, well, then I would have done this. Well, shut your face.
I know. Like in my Star Championship in the final Swiss round, the guy, I killed this Poe really quickly, and it was just Maz, and like I got this, and so he puts Launch Bay out,
Whoa.
and I have to shoot
Whoa.
through 2-second chances and launch bay and 2 planetary uprisings, and I'm like, I'm gonna lose this.
Oh, goodness.
I was so close, and I'm like, yeah, you never know when you're done with Pomas.
Yeah. Yeah, Maz gets real scary when you put like a DL-44, pull a die off, then the next turn you throw a rocket launcher on there. Suddenly you're looking at this and you're like, wait, what's going on? Is Maz really rolling like 6 damage every turn plus planetary uprising? Where did this go wrong?
Correct.
Okay, so enough about Pomaz. I don't ever want to talk about that deck. I'm really trying to figure out what I do with it. Do I just start playing it? The problem is I feel like the mirror is really luck-based. My friend who loves Pomaz says, no, it's not. You're crazy. It's not. It's all skill-based. I'm like, have you ever played Pomaz? Because it's not. Like, there's a lot of luck involved. So, I don't know. I don't know what to say about that. Let's return to Kylo Vader, though. All right, so where would you rank it against Pomaz, Palpatine, Vader, Raider? Put those 3 in order from best to least.
I think if the majority of the decks that you face are Pomaz, I think Kylo Vader would be my number 1.
Okay, just because it has so much more health.
I think it's actually really strong against Pomaz, and I think that's part of the reason why I think it's one of the top decks right now.
Yeah, I thought that as well until last night when I got double mind probed, and then the next game, similar horrible things happened.
Yeah, but I mean, sometimes sometimes it's out of your control, you know.
I felt very much like that, like a guy who's just like getting whooped on. You're like, I don't know what's happening. I don't know what's going on. I'm doing all the right things, and they're just laughing.
Yep. I mean, you just have to accept that. I think the big problem right now is that, like with Awakenings, I didn't feel a lot this way, that I was not in control. But with SOR, I feel out of control all the time. I feel like things are happening. I have like the game, the 4-1. The one game I lost was against the guy who won the tournament, who was undefeated to that point, and who just, I think, did 8 I had 4 removal cards in my hand, dealt 8 damage through hit and run and fast hands. The next turn, hit and run fast hands, and that's 16 damage. And I'm sitting there with my 4 removal cards. I'm like, do I get a turn? Do I get to play something? And so I know we're not supposed to talk about Pomas, but what I'm trying to say is, like, in SOR, when it is bad, it is horrible. Yeah. Like, it's, you have no say in the Magical Christmas Land scenario. Yeah. You have no say in the game whatsoever.
All right. Since we've dove back into Pomaz, do you think the deck needs to be changed at all, or is it just simply people need to adjust the decks they're playing and their play style? What do you think?
I think we're a little bit. I think we need to give it a little bit more time. The European championships are coming up. There's a couple more store championships. Hopefully, maybe somebody finds an answer. But I'm leaning towards the side something might need to be done. Although I think the big issue is kind of like the confluence of everything together. It's not just Poe. It's not just Maz. It's not just fast hands. It's not just hit and run. But if you have all 4, you have a disaster on your hands. Yeah,
I lean towards I think innovation will kick it down a notch. The problem is, what kind of deck beats Pomaz regularly, and does it beat other things? And that's going to be the real question. And what really scares me most about Pomaz, more so than its dominance now, is what happens in the future. Poe only gets better every set, and that is terrifying.
Yeah, it makes it difficult to design around for sure.
I mean, just imagine if Yellow Hero and Red Hero gets more good removal. What if they get another card that says do 3 damage to everybody? Like, the design space is so restricted by Poe. That's the real part of me that says maybe something does need to be done. It's not because we can't handle him. It's more if we're going to do something about him at some point, maybe now's the time. So I don't know. I'm also fine with not doing anything. We'll have to see.
My big flip side, what it is, if I look at the current meta, and I might be in the minority, I don't know, but if you look at the results, I think it's pretty clear that villain has a lot of options to play.
Yeah.
Now, if you take away Poe,
yeah,
where's your hero meta?
Yep, it's Rey.
Well, Rey with who? Like Rey with Luke. I mean, it's okay-ish. Like Rey with Obi-Wan, it's okay-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, Han's the best option, but still, is it a tier 1? I don't know.
I don't know. Han Rey is. I kind of feel like the best Han Rey player in the world makes that a tier 1 deck. But I feel like the skill ceiling of that deck is pretty high. And it also feels like when things go wrong with that deck, the wheels just fall off. So,
yeah, you mean like when you don't draw any upgrades for?
Yeah, you don't draw upgrades. You roll out Han. He only has 2 damage sides. You miss on him. They control him. You're just kind of like, wow, cool. And then my opponent dropped a bunch of upgrades and did 9 damage this turn. Awesome. So,
yep.
Yeah. I've seen both sides. My friend and I played. I was Palpatine. He was Han Rey. One game, he controlled all my dice and rolled big. The next game, I just god rolled him like 3 times and won the game. And he's like, okay, cool.
Yeah, that's variability for sure. I think one game, the guy actually played Planetary Upright and Planned Explosion in his deck.
Whoa.
And turn 1, he assassinated my Rey.
Oh my.
With plans. And actually, it was with 3 ambush actions. So he just replace, roll, Planned Explosion, 10.
Wow.
I tried to reproduce it. I have not had that luck, but that was very fun to see.
Wow. That's really fun to see in a casual game. Not at all fun to see in a tournament.
Oh no. Table flip.
Oh man. Okay. So, what was your ranking again? I've forgotten already.
Ranking?
Yeah. Palpatine, Kylo, Vader, Pomas.
I don't like rankings because it's just to depend. Like I would say, I think right now with all the pose, I probably would think that Kylo Vader is probably one of the strongest. But Pomas to me is the deck to beat, and I think at the bottom I would put Vader Raider. I would put Kylo and Emperor above Vader Raider.
You would put what?
Vader Raider or Vader Guard. I would put on 4th place.
Okay, I thought you said Kylo Emperor.
No.
I was like,
oh yeah, new meta.
What? What are you talking about?
No, Vader Raider or Vader Guard.
Okay.
Yeah. Pomas first, probably. Kylo Vader second. Emperor third / second. I don't know. And Vader Guard.
Okay.
4th.
That's fair. Yeah. All right. Well, we're just going to talk about this topic, and we'll return to Vader, Kylo in a minute. So, if you were running a store championship, if you're going to one on Saturday, what would you bring? Would you repeat the Palpatine deck, or do you feel like people have kind of started figuring out how to play around him, and you would bring something different?
Since I just looked on my list and. There's probably like about 6-7 store championships I can go to over the next month. Mm-hmm. If I'm willing to drive a couple of hours. So I'd like to bring some different decks. That being said, if it was just like I need to win this one, it would probably be Palpatine again.
Okay. And is that more just your comfort level with the deck? You feel like it has a pretty good matchup against everything?
Correct. Yeah. And I think you just to anyone you. Bring what you're really good at. That doesn't stink. I mean, if you're really good at a mill deck and it doesn't work in the meta, then don't bring it. But Palpatine works in the meta, and I've played it since release, which is probably the card I have to put a suck in my mouth in because when I saw it spoiled, I'm like, this is horrible. And now it's my favorite.
Oh man, I have gone so back and forth on that card. It's one of those cards when I first saw it, I said, this card's going to be great. No, I said, this card's going to be bad unless there's a helper card for it. And then we got Rise Again and Force Lightning, and I said, I think this is going to be great. And then the set dropped, and I saw all the rest of the cards, and I was like, ooh, I don't think it measures up. And I still really don't. I feel like once that deck is found that beats Pomaz, I think it also beats Palpatine. So
Yeah, maybe. I think though, like, it's the way you architect your PAL build. Like you like at least the way I build it is just like, there's like you have illusions, you have heals, you have a truckload of removal. So it just it's like slowly just itching away at you, like, oh, 2 damage, 2 damage, 2 damage, and then before you know it, all of a sudden, a character dies.
Yeah, or at least they're in range, and now you have to really worry, like you were saying. No Mercy can come out at any, and every play you make is like, oh no, they rolled a damage. I better do something, crazy to stop that because they might have No Mercy.
That's correct. Like, and that's also kind of part of like leaving the resources open, because like constantly it's like mind games. It's like, does he have a No Mercy? Versus like if you're just greedy and just spending all your upgrades, then there's no money for removal. Like, there's no question, is he gonna rise again?
Yeah.
But the resources are there. Obviously, you don't want to do it against like a disrupt tech.
Yeah.
But anything else, you always leave them questioning what on earth is going to happen.
And it's super powerful with Palpatine because of Rise Again, right? It's like, with a lot of decks, if you just start building resources, it's like, okay, I don't know why this guy is not just playing some upgrades. Like, he would be better off playing a 3-cost upgrade and leaving 2 back. Or if you're like, I'm going to bluff reversal and not do anything. Whereas with Palpatine, it's like, this bluffing mechanism feeds into when you draw Rise Again, just to be able to be like, boop, Rise Again, game over.
Yeah. And it's come to the point where, like, like I used to play Premonitions, and then I was like, oh, like, I don't even want to risk potentially giving up my card.
Yep.
I'll just make sure I always have resources.
Man, I gotta say this. There's my hardest thing with Palpatine, by far, not even close, is I have a Force Illusion on Palpatine. I have not drawn a Rise Again yet, and it's clear I'm going to need it. I still struggle with, when do I pop the illusion? Do I just say, screw it, I have to take the chance, I can't take this 4 damage? I've had times where I've taken 4 that I could have prevented with a Force Illusion, just because I'm worried that I might lose my Rise Again.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't know. It's one of the harder things, I think, of playing Palpatine, is figuring out exactly when. And whenever you play against a Palpatine and they pop Force Illusion, they lose Rise Again, you're like, yes, I did it.
I think we have to hope for Return of the Jedi then.
Oh, I know. Just imagine if Darkseid had that. Oh my goodness. Or if they could play cheat.
Correct.
Boy.
Yeah, it was so good.
Palpatine would be amazing. So, speaking of that, you could do that, man. You could play 1-die Palpatine, Tusken Raider, and go 4 Rise Agains and never have him die. Huh? Is that just
seems overpowered, man? I mean, more HP, Rise Agains.
Yep.
Yeah, you win.
It's pretty much like having second chances endlessly.
Why not a Guavian Trooper, right? You got more modifiers with your Palpatine.
You know what? That's a really good point. That's a great point. Oh, boy. What would it take for you to run a 1-die Palpatine deck? The end of the world?
Like, if I had a consistent way to, do Price of Failure and do cargo and do the training cargo based stuff. If there was a way to make that consistent, to where my opponent could not do it to me, then I might consider running it.
Yeah, I guess that's reasonable.
I haven't found a way.
If you could move training over to Palpatine without any downside.
Yes.
Which you really could, to be honest. If you played Cargo Bay, and then you could just wait, play training, move it over, and then first turn, next turn, roll out Palpatine and then immediately Price of Failure, so they can't move it back unless they just waste their whole turn.
Correct.
Dude,
well,
you could do it.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm just saying consistent.
Winning the roll off and getting 2 cards at the perfect time. That's all it takes.
Hey, new orders, baby.
Oh, see, there you go.
Oh, like the ultimate cheats.
Yeah.
Think there's Palpatine? There's 2.
3 cards. You only need 3 cards at the perfect time. Oh,
I mean,
you've gone off the rails with this one.
imagine your turn one. You know, like you let them go. You're only Palpatine one die. You get the tree gun. You resolve it.
Yep.
You're rolling your other guy. Yeah, you resolve the damage. Then, when they claimed new orders, you get the cargo hold. You move over to trading.
Oh yeah.
And then you do price of failure, and Palpatine comes again. Roll 6 damage,
Dude,
and you win the game.
this is the new meta. It's the new meta, man.
I solved it.
The new meta. Good job. You are the best.
Thank you.
Oh, so for me personally, I don't know what to bring. I have a championship Saturday. I've convinced myself that Nines is the best card in the game, and that the deck we're all looking for is a Nines deck. I just can't figure out which one it is, because there's 7,000 combinations. Oh, man. So I've spent the whole day, basically, playing different Nines decks. Here, I'll name some for you, and you can tell me how bad you think they are. What would you think of Nines Grievous?
Bad.
Yeah, I agree. It was terrible. I won my game, but boy, it was a terrible deck. Here we go. How about Vader Nines? Both elite.
Good.
Yeah, it sounds like it'd be great. Part of me says this has to be better than Kylo Vader. The problem is they killed Nines right away, and then it was just like a naked Vader because I got screwed into get redeploy stuff. And yeah, naked Vader didn't do anything because he doesn't have his battlefield. He just has a random battlefield.
I think it's on the cusp of being amazing. Like if in the next set, some better weapons would release. Right now, if I look at the weapon selection, it leaves me like, and I think eventually some weapons have to release where, you know, they're red or they're blue, and they have a high probability, because that's a big factor with FN, right? Like, if you have a 1 in 6 of rolling damage with FN by putting the weapon on there, like, it's not, you know, it's not really worth doing. You need to have at least like a rocket launcher type of card.
Yep.
Is amazing on FN.
Oh yeah, rocket launcher and riot baton are both bonkers on him.
Yeah.
So there are already some weapons that are exactly what you're looking for. But you're right. When we get to that moment where there's like 10 of those weapons, where 3 of the sides are damage and not modified sides, that's when you start going, oh man, this is gonna be crazy.
Yeah, when I built it originally, like I kind of built like a massive amount of weapons with Vader, but then I stepped back and I said, no, these weapons are not good enough. So I just put a truckload of removal in and just kept the essential, really good weapons, which I wanted on FN.
Right. And did you play Holocron then?
I did.
Okay. That's what I'm wondering if that's the next step, because I have right now the weapons version. It's not crazy. It's not like the full 18, 20 weapons or whatever. It's about 12 weapons, I think. But some of them are a little bit dicey, and it would be interesting to play Holocron in that spot so that FN is building, and then Vader is also building at the same time, and there's more dice rolling around. You're kind of like,
Makes it a difficult choice for your opponent.
Yeah, exactly. All right, so I don't know. I still think FN is crazy good. For 10 points, man, you get a bomb character.
Oh yeah, his pointing is just ridiculous. I'm like, they're like sitting there, like if it makes me very mad, because I'm very opinionated about looking at the hero characters, and I'm like, oh, did you release Luminara? Really? Obi-Wan? Like, what's going on? Or like, oh, Mon Mothma, 9 HP. Oh, it's almost a Jabba. She's equally good.
I really feel like FN is a 13-17 character. I think he's that undercosted. I think he's the most undercosted card.
Really? 17 seems a little much. But it's still luck-based.
But the thing is, he's not going to be. The farther we get in the future with more and more weapons, he's going to be less luck-based.
Yeah. I mean, I would have been fine if he was more. I agree. 10-13, as soon as I saw him, even if he didn't have his ability, he would be a strong 10-13 red character.
Yeah, he would be okay, I think, if he didn't have his ability. I wouldn't play him, but that ability is really good. Like, to me,
I think you would want to play him if he's like, if you wanted to create a combination with red, a 10-13 would be a good choice to pair with.
What was that?
It's like if you wanted to pair with a red character, a 10-13 seems fair.
Yeah, he just seems crazy. So we'll see what happens with him. I'm gonna say it now. I'm gonna repeat it. I think he's the meta. I think we just haven't cracked his deck. I'm trying, though. I'm trying, people. When I do, I'll post it. But, boy, my whole SW Destiny DB is like 70 FN decks. Like, I have to scroll down to get past the FN decks at this point. Alright, so I'm lost. I'm lost for this weekend. I may just bring Palpatine. I may bring one of my half-baked Nines decks. I don't know, man. I don't know.
Hey, the first SOR tournament that I did on TTS just when it released, several FN decks were in the top, and actually the Tuscan Dooku FN was the one who won. So who knows?
Really, that deck won that event?
Yep.
Interesting. That's kind of my baby right now.
Yeah, it's a good deck. It has a lot of HP, and you think it looks weak, but then if there's like 2 redeploy weapons and then they go to Dooku, you're like, ah.
Yeah. You know what I think is a better version of that deck actually though?
What?
Is Dooku 9's Bala. Because Bala has the same amount of
Really?
HP, and when FN dies, instead of sending him to Dooku, you send them to Bala. And they're like, oh god, Bala has all of that stuff on him? So, I don't know, you lose that melee side from Raider, which helps things like Lightsaber, but, man, I played it a little bit today, and, I mean, Bala with 2 batons and a lightsaber reactivating in a turn is totally nuts.
That sounds pretty fun, actually.
Yeah, so look
Actually,
at that.
Yeah, to me, like, I thought, like, Dooku was going to fade from the meta, but if Poe and Palpatine stick around, who knows? Dooku might be back.
Yeah, you know what's funny? No one has ever killed this deck yet. They've just milled it.
Really?
Yeah, like it doesn't die. It has too much health. It just cannot die because you're using FN's ability and overwriting weapons and playing Boundless, and so you're sort of helping them get to that mill. So the problem I found is that it's not quite explosive enough to beat really high health decks like a Han Rey looping second chance that has a very hard time killing. Same thing with Hero Mill as their looping second chance, but stuff like Poe Maz is much easier because you just roll stuff and kill them.
Hey, that's your mission, man. If you manage to get consistent wins against it, then you're set for life.
Consistent wins. Nothing beats that deck consistently.
Who knows?
Does pretty well against it, though. Pretty well. All right. Well, let's move back to Vader, Kylo, then. We talked about the aggro nature of it. I find that one of my favorite plays is to go 4-speed on Kylo, and then that way you get to do this sick play where you just roll Kylo. If he hits the 4-speed, you get to click the 4-speed and just roll and resolve Anakin, which feels crazy.
50% of the time.
Yeah, and so, I don't know. And because it has Holocron and 4-speed, you get a lot of games where you just have a pile of dice cards. Even if they're not good dice cards, you just get this pile of dice cards really quickly.
Yeah, I think the deck has uncanny synergy, only akin to Poe Maz. Yeah. Just because if you play Throne Room and you count the amount of specials you can do, it makes your head spin because the Holocrons, Kylo special, Vader special, and then the Force ability specials. It's like, wow.
Yeah. And once you get a Mind Probe online, it changes the whole complexion of the game. Every second of the game, they're like, oh no, he could claim and do 4. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, it's painful.
Yeah, so I think it's a solid deck. So I think some people have looked at the Throne Room and said, "Oh, you're gonna run Throne Room in a Poe Maz meta." But what would you say? I think it works really well in the deck. What do you think?
Oh yeah, it does. Okay, I mean to that point, right? Like all you need, like if you manage to get the Mind Probe out early, you could just claim yourself the victory. Like you put the Force Illusion out on their character has Mind Probe, and it's just like I don't care what you roll, Poe. If you roll 8, I'll Force Illusion 4, do the other 4, and I'll just do 2 Mind Probes and I'm in the game.
Yeah. Yep, I think it's really strong from that vantage point. The way I've built mine is basically no weapons. I can't really afford to spend money on weapons. My money goes to resolving dice, or it goes to removal, and I just, like, Kylo Saber's great, but what happens when that character dies? Kylo Saber goes away, and I couldn't afford it anyway.
Yeah, I agree. The only weapon that's in my list right now, which I would not cut, is Fiber Knife.
Yeah.
Just because if you run against that pesky hand deck, which has a million shields, and then you're sitting there like, okay, no Vibrant Knife, I lose the game.
Yeah. I would say most matchups, I discard Vibro Knife. I just, it's real hard to play it. But I think you're right. If it's like a Qui-Gon deck or a Han deck, then you just prioritize it, right? You just say, okay, this turn, I'm not going to get to play removal, or I'll play 1, so I have 3 for next turn, and I can Vibro Knife and have 1 for removal.
True.
So Holocron, major player, am I right?
Yep. Yeah, Force Speed and Holocron are the all-stars in the deck.
So in I think it was the third round of our tournament last night. It was the mirror. So I had played the 2 Po Maz deck, or the 2 Po decks, and lost in horrible fashion. Playing the mirror, and I'm like, oh my god, is this going to be one of those, like, whoever gets lucky or wins? And he did his mulligan, and he had 1 card left. I was like, oh, saving the Holocron, huh? And you could tell from his response that he was. And I tossed all 5 of mine. And I said, that's weird. I had 2 Holocrons, and I chucked them both. And he gave me this really funny look, and he was like, really? That is very weird. I usually mulligan for them. And I was like, really? That's weird. Because that's how I am at tournaments. I'm all misinformation.
That's funny.
And then even after the game, he remembered that. And he was like, I still can't believe that you sent both of your Holocrons back. I thought mine did a lot of good work for me. And I was like, yeah, I was kidding. I definitely did not have 2 Holocrons and sent them back.
Is it evil to do that? Like, the thing is, like, I do that sometimes too. And, like, I know I do it even sometimes in friendly games. There was a game at my local store where, like, the guy had never beaten me. And he was really close to beat me. He had 2 planetary uprisings, and I had 3 HP left on my Palpatine, and so, but I had put a Force Illusion down, and I hadn't used it. I was just waiting for the right time, and every time it was like 2 damage. I'm like, I want to save it for a 3 or a 4, right? And so, like, I was just like 3 HP left. He had the 2 planetary uprisings, and he's like, that's it, right? He's like, I just claim and I win. I'm like, yeah, man. It's like I didn't even say yeah, man. I just said, okay, go for it. Yeah. And so he claims, and I do my Force Illusion, and then I kill him.
Yeah.
He got mad at me.
What's so great about that is that was a great learning experience for that person. I doubt they will ever make that mistake again.
Yeah.
So don't feel bad, because you can think of it that you taught them a valuable lesson.
That's my vantage point. I always like, I play serious, but you'll learn that way. If I just let you get away with stuff, then, you go to a tournament, it's going to happen to you again.
Yeah, I had the opposite thing happen to me in the tournament. He had his... Anakin had 3 health left, and I rolled a 2 and a 3, and he had a Force Illusion. And he goes, well, that's game. And I'm looking at him, and I'm like, huh. So, what's going on here? Like, is he sharking me? Am I going to send the 3 in, and he's going to go, bah! Force Illusion, womp womp. So I was winning by a wide margin. So I re-rolled the 2, going for a 3 to actually win, because he had already claimed. And he got mad. He was like, oh, so we're playing this way. Really?
Oh!
Like I'm a total a-hole and re-rolling when I already have the win. Oh, it was really hard. So I was like, well, you have a Force Illusion. He's like, oh, I do. I was like, oh my god, I could just kill this guy.
That's hysterical.
Oh boy, yeah. It's the interesting things of tournaments. Like, how do you do that? You just see if he's being serious and take the win? I don't know. I don't know what the right call is there. If it's a friendly game and you're testing, you just say, hey, what are you doing? But in a tournament, you're like, I just lost 2 rounds horribly. I need to win this round. I'm really not in a good mood right now. Oh, man.
You know what card we should talk about?
What's that?
Meditate.
Yeah, I agree. All right. Most people probably don't know what meditate says. What does it say?
You get to remove a die that is blank to turn another die to a non-blank side.
It costs 0.
And you exhaust it. That's a support.
Costs 0. Looks like one of the top 5 worst cards in the set, to be honest. So you're taking off one of your dice, which is probably pretty good, or you're not playing it. You're removing it to turn a die to a powerful side. That's not... What is it? Not even damage? It has to be like a special or something?
It has to be a die that is not damaged.
Yeah, so you're not even getting damage out of it. And then your opponent just removes the die, so you spent a card and an action and 2 dice, and they spent a card to remove it and an action. Sounds like the worst card ever. How is it not?
Because of the beautiful many blanks you have in Vader Kylo. And the many specials.
Yeah, I agree. It's actually amazing. I borrowed the list from you, actually, and tweaked it a tiny bit, but I almost cut, meditation, manipulate, and anger, and cut that whole package for, quote, good cards, and I was like, wow, this is a big part of the deck. I'm just going to play it, and then I'll cut it after 2 games. And I got to say, it's really strong, and I think the main reason is because they feel like they need to claim before you. If you have a blank Anakin sitting there or something, and it's your battlefield, that's showing 3 damage, and they're freaking out, and so they have to claim maybe earlier than they would want. And when they do, you're just like, oh, you are so wrecked.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, it's so fun.
Yeah, and I've been testing it with one of my buddies, Alex Carroll, who won a Star Championship with it, and he's really the main Kylo Vader player. He plays it really to a very high level, and we were discussing, because he also looked at meditate. It was like, why should I include this? But to your point, even just being able to, even if you have a blank Kylo die and you have a holocron laying around, then all of a sudden you secure your mind probe. That is huge.
Yeah, for sure. I had some serious blowouts last night. Holy cow! I had a 1-board state where it was like, I got 2 holocrons and a 4-speed early, but I couldn't find any force abilities, and so I had 2 blank holocrons showing, a 4-speed with a focus, and maybe 2 Anakin dice and a Kylo die, all on garbage sides. And so I had 2 cards in hand. I re-roll, they improve somewhat. The other card is meditate. I put that down. Focus, meditate, plus the re-roll. I did 9 damage out of nowhere. The guy's just like, my dude's dead. I was fine. He had no damage. I'm like, yeah, no, now he's dead. So it can lead to really crazy blowouts out of hand. And then even if it's on the board, it's really hard to play around. It's like, oh, you have a blank holocron. I mean, what am I supposed to do here? How do you mitigate that?
Yep. It leads to interesting choices.
Yeah, and so it leads them to really bad spots.
Have you ever been in a situation? Have you ever been able to pull this up? Do you run manipulate in your version?
Yeah.
So have you ever been able to pull? This is the sickest play.
I know you're
4 speeds. Manipulate your die. Turn their die into a blank. Anger.
Yeah, I have not. I've gotten so close. I actually had that scenario, but they had no damage. And so I couldn't actually anger them. And I was like, oh my goodness, this is the worst. They had already claimed. They had, 2 resources showing. So I didn't do it, but I could have. I had that option of blanking my card, but it didn't come to fruition. I was so sad.
That's sad.
Yeah.
The other card. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's fine. I was saying, oh
well. The other card that I'm on the fence about, and it sounds so weird for me to be on the fence about, is Force Throw.
Oh, I don't know what to think of Force Throw anymore. Every deck I play it in. So let's say I'm playing Palpatine, and I have the choice of force push, force lightning, or force throw. Force throw is like the worst one for god rolling, and it's the same thing with Kylo Vader. I'm just like, ugh, like it feels like stuff to hit with force throw is not on the board anymore. No one's like, I rolled 3 damage and it's sitting there. What you gonna do about it? Like that just doesn't happen anymore.
Yeah, and it feels that whenever you want to rely on the throw to happen,
oh yeah,
like it doesn't come. Like because I mean, if you face it, it's only like a 33% chance. So yeah, I've been really sad about it. I'm like in my brain, because like in Awakenings it was like, force throw in the deck, best card, and now you're like I just feel myself putting it in automatically, but then I'm playing the games and I'm like critically thinking about it, and I'm like, it probably should go out.
Yeah, is this any good? I don't know. I would say more often than not, I have used force throw to throw like a blank Podai. I'm like, well,
seems legit.
Yeah, there we go. But it just feels like there's got to be better options than paying 3 for this expensive ability that you can't usually pay to play to just mitigate a single die. Like, there's tons of cards that do that.
At least you get to disrupt against the Crime Lord.
That's true. That's true. My buddy did, in the tournament last night, he played Jabba Unkar Crime Lord deck, played against a Palpatine and Crime Lord in him turn 3. And the guy was kind of newer, and he was like, so what does that do? He's like, it's, I win. And he was like, wait, what?
That is awful. That is still my worst nightmare to this day.
Oh, yeah.
Like, Crime Lord is just one of those cards that, like, we have this one guy in our local meta, and he loves Jabba. And I, like, don't like to play against him because, like, I hate it when, like, every time I have to think, does he have enough resources? Does he have enough resources? Is Crime Lord coming?
Yep.
And he's really good at it. And I'm like, every time, like, my head is, like, calculating, like, okay, please not today.
Yeah.
Please not now.
And if you're Palpatine, he doesn't have a disrupt side. So then you're like, oh, geez. Like, if he ace in the holes, can I not claim? Like, what do I have to do? Do I have to at least bluff? I have removal. Yeah. Crime Lord can be a real pain to play against. All right. Anything else you want to add about Vader Raider, or are we pretty happy there? Good deck.
I think we're happy.
Yeah,
Vader Raider?
Don't play
Vader
weapons.
Vader Raider.
What was that?
You said Vader Raider.
Is that what I said?
Yes.
I meant Kylo Vader.
Okay, we're pretty happy there.
Okay. All right. Don't play weapons. Play the holocron. Yeah. Okay. Here's a statement I want you to comment on. I've been pretty vocal in saying that I think force speed is very overrated and does not go in a lot of decks. And then I immediately turned around and made a pile of decks with it. I had it in my Palpatine deck, my Kylo Vader deck. I put it in a Rey deck. My Han Rey deck I was like, wait, how can I, on the one hand, say this is overrated and shouldn't go in decks, and then put it in literally every deck I made this week? What's wrong with me?
Everything.
Am I right? Is it overrated? What's going on?
It's not overrated at all. I think it's probably, together with Vibrant Knife, it's in competition for the best card in the set, in my opinion. Okay.
So you still think it's right there, we were right all along, it's bonkers.
It is, because there's so many decks. I mean, you mentioned Vader Kylo, but the same thing happens with Rey Luke. Yeah. The same thing happens with anyone that you could do the force speed on the weaker character and then cheat out the stronger character. It's a very dangerous proposition.
Yep, totally agree. All right, so I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I was wrong every which way. First I said it was busted. Then I said it wasn't that great. Maybe I'm wrong again, and it is amazing. I don't know, people. Don't listen to me. Don't sell your force speed yet. Maybe it's worth keeping. Except for the Boundless Ambition call. Well, I mean, yeah. You make enough calls, one of them's got to be right. Are you Nostradamus of Star Wars Destiny? That's right. All right. Let's look at some viewer questions real quick before we head out today. GDJXTX says, what makes a bad die / character? And once you've decided it's bad, what do you need to have happen to reconsider it, to look at it again? I'm going to start with the latter half of that for me. The answer is a lot. It's actually a problem I have, that once I have decreed in my own mind something's bad, I have a really hard time sort of pulling back from that and reevaluating. A really good example is IG-88. I think he's bad, and it's going to take a heck of a good deck for me to change my mind on that.
That's fair.
What about you? What does it take for you to change your mind?
Seeing other people steamroll me.
Yeah, that's pretty much the same with me too. If you whoop me enough times, but even if you beat me once, I'm like, that's Destiny, man. Like, that happens. You can beat me with literally anything. It's Star Wars Destiny. You got to beat me several more times.
Although you have to, at a certain point, sometimes you also acknowledge a card is not your style, even if it's a good. Like one of my buddies, I saw him, and he's a really great player, and he got rolled 5 times in a row with his Vader Kylo against a Mon Mothma double hired gun deck.
Wow.
And I'm like, that deck is not good. How are you losing? You know? But like, and then I'll play it and I'll lose. I'm like, what am I missing? But like, yeah, I guess like maybe like, you know, these people play it long enough and they find the ins and outs and they play it well, but that doesn't mean it suits you.
Yeah, that's fair. Yeah. By the way, I think Mon Mothma hired gun is decent. I know it sounds crazy, but I think it might be decent.
Who knows?
All right. What makes a bad /die character card? For me, it's mainly cost ratio to ability. Like, any card can be good if it's cheap enough, is basically the bottom line for me. Like, a great example for me, every single time I look through my new cards, I see R2-D2, and I have the exact same reaction. I don't know why. I can't remember this reaction. Literally every time I go, holy goodness, R2 is good. Why is he in none of my decks? And then I look at his cost, I'm like, he's 2? What? There's no way this card should be 2. Mm-hmm. That to me is exactly how I decide whether something is good or bad.
That's a good point. I think I have kind of these. I haven't penned them down, but I have them in my mind. This kind of idea of what a character should be for its point cost. Yeah. Like, I feel like that's why I have such a heartburn seeing Akbar and Mon Mothma at 9 HP. Because in my head, in my philosophy, if a character is around 14 points for 2 dice, 13, 14, whatever you want to call it, they need to be, you know, really. They need to have a really good ability in order for you to include them. Yeah. Like a Rey or like a Maz. Like, yeah, Maz has 8, okay, but her ability is bonkers. So, and then for the high level, if you go anywhere up from 16, I don't care if it's 17, but anything up from 17, it needs to be really good. And once you hit 20, it better be Vader level.
Yeah, it's got to be game breaking at 20, in my opinion.
Yeah, yeah.
That's why every single 20 cost character I do not think is good except Vader.
Exactly. We're in alignment there. Yeah. Luke is like
Krennic.
Luke is borderline in the sense that if he had the cards that villain had, he would be bonkers.
Yep. And that's a lot of it also. It's not just that Vader's card and die is good. It's the supporting pieces to go with him are much stronger than what Luke or IG-88 has.
Yeah, and we had this debate the other day with some people around, like, you know, Luke, the card draw doesn't necessarily bring you closer to the win condition outside of you being able to reroll. But the discard is twofold. You know, it can go into a mill deck for Vader, and it can also limit your opponent's options to stop you.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's what makes Vader bonkers for me.
Luke can improve your opponent's win condition if they're a mill deck.
Yes, that's
so he's got that going for him.
Hooray. Go, Luke.
Why that isn't a May, I have no idea. That's a very weird ability that he has to draw.
Yeah, that's a good point, actually.
Oh, well. Yeah, but back to your point. Like, if you look at 14, you see crazy good cards like Jabba, Veers with his awesome damage, you know, 9s. And then, you
Ankar.
look at Mon Mothma and Akbar, and you're like, I don't understand. Like, you're low health, low impact. I don't get it.
Yeah, I don't get it either.
You're worse than Jabba in literally every step of the way, and you're the same cost. How is this the case?
Because there's a sleeper deck that makes you discard all your cards and then draw again, then discard all your cards, and it kills you in one turn with Akbar.
What?
No. No, it doesn't exist.
That
But that would be funny.
interesting. You could do stuff like don't get cocky.
Yes.
And what else makes your opponent draw? There's not that many.
Yeah, I don't know. And set 6.
So that's 6. Okay. Wow.
This is gonna happen.
This dude is playtesting set 6 already. You heard it
I'm
here.
a visionary. I see this happening.
Oh, this is a crystal ball. Okay, my bad.
Yes. Yeah.
My bad. Okay, so hopefully that answers your question. We're going to move on to the last question. Oren Gray asks, what are the benefits of proactive versus reactive defense? What he means is shields and healings versus removal. Which one is better, and are there scenarios where one is better than the other? I think this is a really interesting, hard question.
It is hard.
Because there's really amazing cards like Dug In that are just better than removal. Like, if you can get 3 shields, that's the best thing you could do. But the problem is, Dug In's really situational, and in fast meta, it's hard to rely on. It's hard to get it off. Maybe they're running Vibro Knife, and they don't even care about your shields. And healing, to me, is like the diciest of all, right? Like, there aren't that many healing cards. If there was more field medics, or if there was a field medic that was like pay 2 for 4 or something, that would be nuts. But relying on things like Lone Operative, boy, that's super risky.
Yeah, I almost feel kind of with the meta, if you can somehow, and I've tried it, I've not gotten there, but I feel like if there is this deck that could just, like, you play against Pomas and you know on one turn, on a given turn, it's going to be 6 to 8, but that's where it's going to stop.
Yep.
Because they don't upgrade their characters typically. If somehow, like, there's like, okay, force heals and all kind of other shenanigans where you just like, okay, you deal your 8 damage, I'll just heal it up and then I'll deal my damage.
Yeah.
If somehow that were to become a thing, you know, I feel healing could be really strong potentially.
Yeah, I do.
Because it's
agree
very
with that.
predictable.
Yeah, and that is the problem, right? It's like it's usually interruptible. They can remove the healing die before it happens. I don't know. It's funny because it feels to me like that should be better than removal, right? Because once it's on the table, it's repeatable. But in my own testing, I felt like it's not at all better. That removal is just a better way, and I think it's because games don't go long enough. If games went 12 turns, then I think the repeatable removal would be way better, even if it's less reliable. Or the repeatable healing, that is.
Yeah, it takes some time to set up, but if you get to that point, like, you know, because the dice, like with how fast the game goes, it's almost at a point where sometimes, like, you're like, as a pro player, you know, Tiny, would you ever go to a tournament without a set amount of control cards in your deck? Ever?
No.
Exactly.
Just would not.
But then you go to you're in games and you're like, very fast hands for, you know, like 4 speed, whatever, and like and then you're sitting there with all your beautiful cards, thinking, wow, I just constructed this deck so nicely, and you can't do anything. So it's almost like you have to look at the healing, but it doesn't quite work.
Yeah. And it's underwhelming, and I think intentionally so, because it'd be too much. Like willpower, it's just not good enough. Like 1 for 1. It's so slow. It's not enough. If willpower was 2 and field medic was pay 1 for 3, you'd really start looking at that and going, wow, I could just kind of heal my way through this.
And if willpower was 0 cost, I'd be in any deck.
Yeah, maybe. Slots are tight, though. Like I'm not sure it would make decks. It probably would, just because it's also the direct damage. Yeah. Here's a question. Would you play a card that said 0... heal 1? Actually, you would. You play it.
I play it. It's in my list.
It's in your Palpatine list. And you know what? I do too. So I guess I guess what I'm saying is healing's freaking awesome. There just aren't that many heal cards.
Yeah, and like I'll do stuff like when we're talking about proactive. Like if I have Force Illusion in my hand turn 1, I'll just put it up straight away to Palpatine.
Yeah.
Like I won't even roll out. I'm just like, okay, Force Illusion.
See, I don't do that because, like I said, I'm worried I'm going to mill Rise again off the top. So instead, what I like to do is kind of get a feel for where we're at, right? And so I usually roll out first so that if I need to claim faster, I can. Thinking if I can get Illusion down this turn, I will. I might not pop it for a while, but it's probably not going to be my first play.
Yeah, I just worry like, and that's probably, I'm probably not a good player against Mel, because like for me, like I always worry to hold on to cards for too long in Star Wars, because I'm like, I know what's in my deck, I know what I need, and I can just like sit there very pretty with the cards. I'm like, oh, if I only get this off at the right time, and then all of a sudden, and I see a lot of people just like losing because of that, because I'm like, you know, I have 5 cards in my deck because I've searched for everything I needed, and you're sitting there with 15 cards in your hand,
complaining that you didn't find the card you needed when you could have easily found it by now.
Exactly.
Yeah, I have very little sympathy for the person who has 18 cards left and is complaining that they didn't find their second chance when I have 3 in the deck, right? And it's like, well, maybe you should have dug for that second chance. Yeah.
Yep.
All right. Well, boy, we ran a long time today, Elrathion. Thanks so much for coming by. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Where can people find you online?
Knights of Ren Discord channel or Facebook.
And you're Elrathion on Knights of Ren, and do you want to give out your Facebook name or no?
Just Olivier the Ritter.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks so much for coming by. You can find me streaming somewhat regularly at Twitch, Tiny Grimes. You can find my YouTube channel, Tiny Grimes. Tiny Grimes Games on Twitter. Go to Patreon, Tiny Grimes. We all kinds of talks. There's going to be a tier list coming. Real quick, since I have you here, what are your thoughts on a tier list? Negative, positive, or somewhere in between?
About making it?
About the existence of tier lists.
I think it's useful.
Okay.
I think it's fair game.
I do as well. My co-host last week said he hates them more than anything and will never participate in one. So, that was interesting. All right. Well, there we go.
Right.
Got both ends of the spectrum covered. All right. Well, thank you so much, everybody, for coming by, hanging out with us. We'll see you next week on the Smugglers Den.